Good afternoon and welcome along to the lovely Coppersmith in South Melbourne. I'd just like to spruik the proprietors here, George and Glenda Bagios, have a lovely establishment here, and I have to say it's one of my favourites here in Melbourne. But on with it. So thank you for joining me today on today's podcast or vlog, depending on how you're consuming today's content. And today's guest is Elaine Yeo, one of our preferred brokers here in Melbourne, and we're going to have a chat with Elaine today about how she got started in brokering, where she's at now and plans for the future, and then we'll just finish off with a little bit about how specifically you can finance one of our Class 1B shared accommodation projects. So welcome Elaine, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
Pleasure. Now Elaine, tell me, how did you get started in brokering and why?
Right. Look, Frank, I have been in the corporate world for 18 to 20 years, but during that time, one of my hobbies, favourite hobbies, is investing in property. So I've actually been doing that for 18 years,
Okay.
and just building wealth through acquiring multiple properties. And so an opportunity came up 2 years ago for me to start my own brokering firm to help clients build their own property portfolio, because I've actually personally done it. And the thought of being able to help others achieve the same just really excites me.
Absolutely, and why wouldn't it? So, and how long have you been practicing, and who specifically do you deal with?
Yeah, so I started my own company back in June 2016, and I've actually got over 40 banks and non-bank lenders in my panel, and so that essentially gives my clients wide-ranging options available from a financing perspective, because as we all know, financing is actually getting harder and harder and more complex, and you don't know what you don't know. And so it's more important to be able to find the right lender that suits the client's needs. And so yeah.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a while now, so, and look, the reality is, in brokering, it's a hard gig, and typically a lot of brokers don't get past year one, so you've done fantastic to get to there. Okay, so sorry about the edit, but for some reason the camera stopped and we're back live.
Yeah.
So Elaine, so given that you've been in the business for over a year now, perhaps you can enlighten us with maybe one or two stories about your best moments and potentially one of your worst moments in the business.
Sure. Look, the best moments for me is really seeing the reaction from my clients when I share with them what amount of money I can actually, find them. And like, for example, I had a client recently where we settled a loan, and he still repeatedly said to me, Elaine, I still cannot believe how much money you managed to get funding for me. And I love those comments, because it means that I've exceeded my client's expectations.
Absolutely.
And this is what I love most about my job. In terms of worst moments, look, I love, there really isn't that many worst moments for me, because I love my job that much. However, one of the things that, as a broker, that frustrates me is really the valuations. Especially I've had a couple where it fell short of the purchase price, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that is probably the most frustrating aspect.
Absolutely, and look, I've dealt with valuers for many years now. It can be frustrating. The reality is they are employed by the banks to look after their money, so they can be ultra conservative, and sometimes quite willing to ignore what the market is saying and look at historical data to come up with their summations. However, that's life in finance. So you've recently been awarded, recognised at the awards at the NFAA, and so that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Gotten through that TV period, getting past that 1 year is always a milestone. What's next for Elaine and her brokerage business?
Yes, thank you for asking, Frank. Well, look, business is definitely building up, and my vision for the next 12 to 18 months is to have a couple more staff on board to help with the paperwork and the administration side of things, so I can actually assist more clients.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because if you've ever had a mortgage loan, you'll know how much paperwork's involved. That must keep you up late at night and well into the early mornings, I'm sure, with the amount of deals that you're writing at the moment. So that seems like a pretty sound idea. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit selfish now. I'm going to talk specifically about our 1B product.
Yes.
And I guess the first question is it possible to finance one of these projects?
The short answer is absolutely yes. You can actually get finance for these types of assets. So one of the things that you may find if you go to a retail branch and you walk in and say, can I get finance for a Class 1B, you'll probably soon realise that not many people know about Class 1B. So it is specialised, but the good news is you absolutely can get finance for it.
Good stuff. And look, it really is one of these products that's very little known. And the banks look at them and they look at them a little bit sideways because this is a house, this is a business, we're not sure. So given that, what's the best way to structure a loan? What specific type of loan? And is the LVR, what sort of LVR implications are there?
Yeah, so not many people realise when it comes to getting finance for these types of properties, is it ultimately comes down to the valuation. And so Modo's design, and this is what I really like about your designs, Frank, is that they are effectively self-contained units, or I like to call them apartment-like. I know that I can't really use the word apartment because they are strictly speaking not apartments, but as a consumer they look and feel like an apartment.
They certainly do, yeah.
And so the valuers will see that and say, well, this is not really residential, even though technically speaking it is residential. But it will be classified as a commercial property and a commercial loan as such. In terms of the LVR, or loan to value ratio that you can get, because it's a commercial, banks can lend up to 65% of the land and build costs. Now I do actually have a disclaimer there, it does come down to the valuation. And so what I've actually seen is the valuation does actually match for slightly higher, than the land and the build costs.
Okay, and look, that makes perfect sense. And the reality is, most of our clients come back 2, 3. We have one client who's in the process of building 5th and 6th projects with us, and they've been using those previous builds to leverage into their next build. So they will value up, hopefully, given the right circumstances. So, given that, any advice for anyone out there who's looking to finance their first 1B project with us, or any investment property at all?
Yes, sure. A great question, Frank. Look, my advice for those that are actually looking to invest in a property or a Class 1B is to really find yourself, or surround yourself with, specialists, and finance broker also will be one of them, because you need to find out how much money you can borrow, how much you can actually spend in a project. And so find yourself a really good finance broker who knows these types of asset class, and they will be able to help guide you every step of the way.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more about surrounding yourself with experts in their fields. Look, the reality is, folks, that most of us who are in the property business, whether it be from a finance or a build or a sales perspective, we are there to help our clients the best we can. It's what we get the most enjoyment out of with our roles, and which drives us to get up every morning and go to work. So 100% agree with that. And look, if you're looking for finance, I highly recommend you touch base with Elaine or myself, and I can put you in touch with Elaine. As I said, I have a large network of brokers out there, and I touched base with so many of them, and Elaine was the one who worked tirelessly to put together a way of best looking after my clients, and I really appreciate that, the work you put in, and I really look forward to doing future. So once again, apologies for the edit. The phone keeps stopping for whatever reason. Look,
That's okay.
that's pretty much a wrap for today anyway, Elaine. I really want to thank you for coming down this afternoon and speaking with our clients.
You're most welcome, Frank. I enjoyed our time.
Perfect. Look, and that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to catching you on my next podcast or vlog, however you're digesting this material. Until then, happy investing.
Happy
Thanks.
investing.